Right, Forest fans, Max Newton here giving you a review of Nottingham Forest's first season back in the Premier League in 23 years on Talk Forest TV. Hit that subscribe button, like, comment and share. I've made a list, got some things to go through, play of the season, that sort of thing. But if this is a too long, didn't watch situation, the main thing that you need to know is waka waka, 30 signings, who gives up? The Reds are staying up. Sums it all up really. Whatever I'm about to say and whatever any of us says about the ups and downs of the season, the fact is that we did what we said we needed to do. We stayed up. We said that 17th place is good enough. It's fine. We finished in 16th place. We had some incredible highs throughout the season, and we had a few low points as well. But it's been a roller coaster. It's been a journey, and when we look back on it from safety, looking forward to another season, I think basically, what a wonderful season, and it's been fantastic. And all credit to the manager, all credit to the players, all credit to the fans. Possibly the biggest feature of the entire season has been the fact that everybody has nothing but praise for the Nottingham Forest fans for making the City Ground, the world famous City Ground, a fortress, but also for the away fans who didn't see a lot of goals. Let's face it, didn't see. You only saw one win, but almost every single away game, all you could hear was Forest fans, culminating in Waka Waka, Selhurst Park on the final day of the season. I've chatted to a few of my Derby County supporting mates, Paddy Robinson for one, and they've got nothing. They've got nothing to have a go at us about this season because, we stayed up, had some brilliant moments, had some brilliant football. And the thing that pains them the most is that everyone's saying how brilliant the Forest fans are and the role of the Forest fans in keeping the side up. So, yeah, absolutely brilliant. I think obviously the season got off to a pretty damn good start. A goal and a point away at Goodison Park, which should have won the game, and an absolutely brilliant first home game against West Ham, where Tyro scored bit of a fluky goal, but he's putting himself in the place, he's attacking the ball. Lingard's shot might have gone in. Anyway, when we really look in that game, I think they hit the bar. Dean made a couple of brilliant saves, including from the penalty, and I think Dean Henderson has been, what a player to take on the baton from Bryce Samba, from Bryce's heroics, particularly in the playoff semi-final. I think Dean, the penalty saves that he's made this season against, in particular, the penalty saves in that West Ham game, against Harry Kane, in the penalty shootout against Wolves, were brilliant and were real moments for the season. And his celebrations were fantastic, but also made a lot of really good saves. It's a real shame that he got injured, but absolutely sensational move to bring in Keylor Navas. Like, who'd have thought, 2 years ago that in 24 months' time we'd be watching Keylor Navas, Felipe, Lingard, Serge Aurier dancing around the dressing room singing Waka Waka when we've beaten Arsenal at home and we're staying up. Incredible stuff. What a journey. Then we went into a bit of a slump. I've seen people try and chop the season into several different parts, but we had a really bad run, which I think was we were still bringing players in right up to the end of the transfer window. We're still bringing players in, and even after that, and I think it just took time to settle. I think even some of the best players in the world take time to settle in the Premier League, and we see that at top 6 clubs. We definitely saw that at Forest. Really good example might be Renan Lodi, who looked shocking for the first 2 or 3 games, but I think we'd all have him back in a heartbeat now, and played a real role, showed incredible commitment, playing so well despite his newborn baby being miles away back in Brazil. And I think also, I think Steve Cooper realised that we couldn't continue to play the way we had done with the system we had done that got us promoted. We were too open. Teams were just playing right through our midfield without almost any resistance whatsoever. And, we were conceding goals in clumps, and we've seen a lot of goals in clumps. I remember saying to a mate, after we lost to Leicester away, I think, we just need to shit house a couple of 0-0 draws or 1-1 draws and maybe a 1-0 just to get us going. And we did that. We had a 1-1 at home to Villa, and we had a 0-0 away to Brighton, and that sort of gave us something to build on. And we had a really good run up to Christmas. Key point in that run being the brilliant win at home to Liverpool, where I think the midfield absolutely bullied Liverpool's midfield. And then we had a really good run in to the win at break that culminated in a great 1-0 win at home to Palace. Robbed of 2 points at home to Brentford by a penalty given to Brentford that nobody can't see it. It's not a penalty, and there's absolutely no way that's getting laughed out of town over the last 3 or 4 months of the season. Any sort of claim that could be a penalty is a shocking decision, and that could have been something that sent Forest down. And then post-Christmas, we had a fantastic run. Brennan Johnson came back really firing post-Christmas. We put a brilliant run together. Draws at home to Chelsea that was very, very creditable. Brilliant draw at home to Man City. Lots of, several really good wins at home, including Leicester, which is probably the Leicester game at home and the Brighton at home were the most comfortable we'd looked all season. Probably the Leicester game. And it was starting to look good, and we picked up back-to-back points at home and away. We beat Southampton away, got a draw at Bournemouth away. For a while, we were like one of the top 3 form teams in the Premier League, and we pulled away nicely. And just when Greg Mitchell is saying that, we're not going to get relegated, we're only looking up when we'll have this manager to the end of the season, wheels came off, and home form fell apart. I think the back-to-back home defeats to Newcastle, which felt like a bit of a sliding doors moment. Goals right at the end of injury time at the end of both halves. And the draw at home to Wolves felt like a real kick in the teeth. That felt like, almost like the last chance for a while where we're playing a team around us at home. And it felt felt like a defeat that game, felt like a real hammer blow. And then followed up with defeat away at Leeds, and losing the game away at Brighton really put the pressure on. But I think we absolutely saw the team really come together from that point on. I think we've seen it for a while, but we saw. I think a real key moment was dropping John Joe Shelvey. I think Shelvey and Wood came in. Made sense. Those signings made sense to me. Thought they would add to the team. Thought we definitely were really, really missing Tyro up front, and Andre Ayew I thought did a decent job at coming on to close out games and stuff, but just was not a goal threat. So I could see the sense in those signings, but I think although Chris Wood scored arguably a goal of the season, I think the way you play to accommodate Chris Wood disrupted what was turning out to be a good system, a good way of playing, and that actually set us back a little bit. And I think Shelvey and the team really, really set us back. I think, giving away a penalty against Everton was pretty poor. The pass in the box away at Villa, where I thought we were really, really comfortable against a really, really good Villa side. We were comfortable and should have had a draw out of that game. And he just, he gave it away, sloppy, brain dead sort of moment, blamed his colleagues. And I think, clearly a bad influence in the dressing room, and Steve Cooper just cut that out as soon as possible and dropped him, and good riddance. And I think good that he's being ushered out the door, hopefully. The final run in was fantastic. Tyro, players back at exactly the right time. In particular, Tyro, Niakate, players finding form. Joe Worrell came in and filled in at the end of some games, did a brilliant job, started some games, did a brilliant job, really showing it up to the people that were having an unfair go at him from earlier in the season. Serge had been out, Serge came back, Nico found a good role on the right side of midfield. Players came back, settled side was found. And the right players on the side and form was found at the right time of the season. And the games at home to Brighton, Southampton, and Arsenal defined the season, and will live long in the memory for the wins, the pressure wins, the atmosphere in those 3 games just got better and better and better. And it was already flipping good. Do you know what I mean? It was already probably the best atmosphere I've seen at the City Ground ever. And my old man took me when he put the aerial up on top of the Brian Clough stand, then the executive stand in like 1977. And I don't think we've ever had an atmosphere like that at the City Ground. And long may it continue. And we'll need it to next season and the seasons after that. Just the absolute relief and joy at winning those games and holding those games out, backed up by really, really good away performances, starting at Liverpool, which I thought was a brilliant away performance, even though we lost, away at Chelsea, and Waka Day at Selhurst Park on the final day of the season. We fight another day, we live to fight another day. And teams are coming up like Luton and Sheffield United with their £20 million transfer budget. Hopefully there's teams that are a lot worse off this coming season, and it's not as tight. We don't get a situation unique situation I think in Premier League history where there's like 8 or 9 teams that are in danger of going down. Hopefully Luton and Sheffield United and Everton with a points deduction are cut adrift, and we can relax and we can enjoy looking up towards European football. So anyway, I've got some of my lists for player of the season and so on. Player of the season, I've got a top 4. I've got Taiwo in there because I think he scored 10 goals with the amount of season that he missed, and getting used to English Premier League football is a brilliant job. And the importance of the goals that he scored, the goal that wins against West Ham, the goal that wins against Liverpool, the goal that wins against Arsenal, the goal that got us a point against Crystal Palace. I think Taiwo scored perhaps 1 goal that didn't earn us points. And looked like an absolute beast in the second half of the season when he was back from injury. Serge Aurier, I think a turning point in the first half of the season before Christmas was, I think, when Serge Aurier came on in the 4-0 away defeat to Leicester. All of a sudden, we looked a lot more solid. Maddison and Barnes and so on weren't getting past him. And I think Serge Aurier has had a brilliant season at Forest. Brennan Johnson, again, the amount of goals and goal moments that Brennan Johnson created, his importance to the side has been phenomenal and sensational. Goals, assists, penalties, passes with the outside of his foot, tackles, work rate, epitomised by making a run and having a shot that the keeper saved, and running back and blocking a ball out of play and celebrating in front of A block in the game against Arsenal. So Morgan Gibbs-White, player of the season. Most improved player of the season. In my list, I've got Taiwo from looking ungainly and at the start of the season. Renan Lodi, already said I thought he had a shocker first 2 or 3 games, but has been brilliant since then. Ryan Yates, a lot of people giving him the hate, as they have done every single season of his professional career. I think he's not good enough at this level. By the end of the season, when he came back, showed what we've been missing. Bullied the Liverpool midfield in that win against Liverpool, and is one of the first names in the team sheet. I'm gutted for the lad that he didn't get a goal. Number 1, most improved player of the season, I've gone Joe Worrell. Was getting ridiculous hate but came back in the final 10 games of the season, was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So Joe Worrell, most improved player of the season. Game of the season, Southampton game at home, 4-3. Pulling 2 goals ahead twice and then coming back twice. The most nervous game of the season, particularly every time James Ward-Prowse had a free kick or corner that seemed to be landing right underneath the crossbar. That's the game of the season. Moment of the season, I'm going for 2. I'm going for the win against Liverpool, which we were ranked bottom, but it showed that we can beat anybody at home, and I think that was something that went throughout the season. We could go and lose 6-0 away at Man City, or lose 4-0 at West Ham, but we could then beat anybody at home. And I think that's perhaps been one of the themes of the season, is that no matter how bad a battering we got away from home, unlike some teams, unlike probably all of the teams in the mix and on the bottom, we could wash it off, dust ourselves down, and go for it at home without any sort of hangover from that. Goal of the season, I've got 3 in there. I've got at 3, Renan Lodi against Spurs in the League Cup, which I thought that's a sensational Brazilian goal. Number 2, I've got Brennan Johnson at home against Leicester. You've got the mad Morgan Gibbs-White overhead kick. You've got Morgan Gibbs-White getting the ball back. You've got Morgan Gibbs-White outside of his foot, pass to Brennan, pace, hits across goal into the goal, which is in front of us, which always, improves the likelihood of being goal of the season for me. Number 1, I've got Danilo against Southampton. Brilliant move down the right, crossing by Brennan Johnson, and that back heel by Morgan Gibbs-White is just magic. It's just magic, and it's just, it's just magic, isn't it? And, that's what you get with a player like Morgan Gibbs-White. But then the finish, bang, in front of the Trent end, and the celebrations from Danilo are just brilliant. They're Collymore-esque. And yeah, it's just a wonderful moment in front of the Trent end. And if you watch it on the Sky Sports highlights of the goal, the commentator loves it as much as I think the fans do, even though it's supposed to be neutral. Signing of the season, Morgan Gibbs-White. Serge Aurier, a 3. Has been brilliant. Felipe, been sensational. You can just tell his class. And Keylor Navas, we absolutely needed to get a quality goalkeeper in when Dean Henderson was injured. If we'd have had Wayne Hennessy, God love him, we'd have been relegated. So Keylor, he might have made a couple of mistakes here and there that cost us goals, but he also showed his class and played a role in keeping us up. Asked me to choose one, I'm going Serge on a 3. What a player. Flop of the season, I know some people will be out for Jesse Lingard, but he played some games, scored a couple of goals, albeit in the cup, contributed some wins, and when dropped and not in the side, did not try and destroy the side by his attitude. Player that did do that, didn't score the goals, John Joe Shelby. Shocking. That's all I want to say. Best away fans, consistently throughout the season, the Forest away fans, massively. To choose away fans to visit the City ground, I'm going Man U fans. I thought they were brilliant in the league, in particular, and in the cup against us. So I'm going Man U. Biggest villain of the season, apart from John Joe Shelby, I'm going Podence, for gobbing it. Brennan Johnson scoring the equalising goal, being a typical of what Portuguese players are like, and typical of what Wolves are like, which we saw in the League Cup game, and we saw in that game as well. So in fact, all Wolves players are going as villains of the season. Surprise of the season, player wise, Serge Aurier, Willy Bolly, 2, I think both free transfers, or one was free and one was not very much money. But actually, both were really, really important players at really critical times of the season. Low points, Leicester away. I felt it was the end for Steve Cooper at Leicester away. I felt the owner would go, I'll spend £150 million on players, and I don't expect the team to perform like this. So it felt like the end of the dream there, but it wasn't. I'd also go Wolves at home. or Leeds away, both felt like, yeah, we're going to get relegated again. We're going back. That's my list. What else have I got on there? Yeah, injuries obviously was a major factor, and we need to do something about that. Whether that be not buying players that have injury problems or have a history of injury problems, or is it to do with improving the squad, improving the physios and the medics and that sort of thing. Yeah, changing tactics was key, and also the fans I've mentioned several times, and the togetherness. The fact that Steve Cooper can have 30 players come in, and he's been making jokes about helicopter during a news conference, and that it's probably bringing in some new signings, and knit them together to the extent that injured players are paying their own way to travel to away games to support the side, to the extent that Dean Henderson is on crutches, dancing waka waka in the changing room afterwards, like a modern day Tony Lloyd. That the what we saw on the pitch after home wins and after the home win against Arsenal just summed up everything about what Steve Cooper's about and what his teams are about and what the players are about. And absolutely loved and hated this season in equal measure. And because obviously we got what we wanted at the end of it, it's a love. It's intense. Every game in the Premier League felt like a cup final. Every game other teams are playing around us felt like a cup final that we was invested in. So it's been a roller coaster, but we did it. We look to improve the squad for next season, and come on, you Reds!